Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today for this insightful 30-second Healthcare CXO Roundtable, an initiative of Kaho's Healthcare Division. I'm Dhanya Michael, GM Quality, Rajgiri Hospital, Cochin, and it's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to today's conversation on a highly relevant and evolving theme, HR challenges in healthcare today and the future. As we know, healthcare is a people-intensive industry, and in the post-pandemic era, managing, engaging, and nurturing our human resources has become both a challenge and an opportunity. From attracting and retaining skilled talent to ensuring mental well-being to leveraging HR tech and redefining leadership, our healthcare HR leaders are at the forefront of transformation. Today's roundtable brings together industry veterans who have shaped the HR landscape across major healthcare institutions, and we look forward to a rich discussion filled with actionable insight. I take great pleasure in introducing our esteemed moderator, Dr. Parag Rindani, CEO of Wockhardt Hospitals, a widely respected healthcare leader. Dr. Rindani brings not just strategic vision, but a deep operational experience in managing people and system in large organizations. We are delighted to have him steer today's discussion. Let me also welcome our distinguished panelist, Mr. Durga Prasanna, Head HR at Aster DM Healthcare. With nearly 2 decades of experience in healthcare and education sectors, he's a thought leader in HR analytics, rewards, and capability building. His passion for inclusivity and workplace transformation is truly inspiring. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Ranjan B. Pandey, CHRO at Fortis Healthcare, a seasoned HR leader with over 3 decades of experience. Mr. Pandey has played a vital role in shaping talent strategies at Fortis and Agilis Diagnostics. His insights on talent engagement and succession planning are widely sought after. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Kaushik Ray, Group CHRO at Skims Group of Hospitals and alumnus of XLRI. Mr. Ray brings 27 years of deep experience across sectors. He has led long-term interventions on employee engagement and performance management in some of the India's top healthcare and IT organizations. Dr. Neil Sequeira, COO, Thane Cancer Hospital, with 33 years of experience across operations, leadership, and behavioral science. Dr. Sequeira offers a unique blend of strategic and psychological insight. His focus on leadership development in healthcare is especially relevant in today's fast evolving environment. Thank you all once again for being with us. And now I hand over to Dr. Rindani to take the session forward. Let's bring the conversation in on reimagining HR in healthcare. Over to you, Dr. Rindani.
Thank you very much, Danya. It's a pleasure to be here, and specifically because I have with me a series of senior professionals. These gentlemen have acquiesced to this discussion, and we've set a few ground rules, and I look forward to this interaction. I think one of the challenges that India is facing today, while we are known to be the cradle of the whole population explosion, so to speak, in the country, and I believe we are now bypassing China as well. But I think what's very important is that the drive to get educated and to get gainfully employed is something that we see in every Indian. Somebody goes to the US and gets employed gainfully, somebody stays here and works hard, but essentially that's something that's ingrained in the Indian sort of DNA, that we have to work hard, and we've got to ensure that our families get elevated. Couple this with the boom of the PE money coming in, with healthcare growing, with the government focus on healthcare also. And we have a very good situation wherein you've got this ton of sort of this whole population which is available to get trained. We've got organizations like the Healthcare Skill Sector Council, at the national level. We've got tons of academic institutions, be it medical, nursing, paraclinical, etc. And then on the other side, we've got the demand set up by institutions like all of ours. All of us together represent probably, I think, 100 plus hospitals. And we have this opportunity to ensure that make in India and make India great. Well, I won't use Trumpism and say make India great again, because India has always remained great. But I think what's very important is we have an opportunity to contribute to nation building, and that's something which we do day in and day out. Couple this up again with the challenges of artificial intelligence, mobile technology, generational changes, and we really have a little difficult situation to deal with. Hence, this topic for today's CXO CAHO meet. How do we tackle these challenges of human resources in healthcare? I will not stand between you and the esteemed panelists. I'd quickly like to jump in, and my first question goes to Kaushik. Kaushik, at KIMS and generally overall at other places where you may have worked, how do you manage the shortage of skilled staff, specifically when you're talking about smaller cities and towns? I know that you have hospitals in smaller cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities. How are you managing the shortage of skilled staff? Importing is not always an option. Over to you, Kaushik.
Absolutely, and thank you for so beautifully setting the context, Dr. Parag. See, we do a few things, and others can add. Possibly they also do similar things. We are in the same boat. First, and the easiest thing to do is poach from the local hospitals, which is the most suboptimal thing. It's like shrinking the cake. We have to expand the cake. The first answer is not a good answer, and we try to be as away from that as possible. The second one is forge some local partnerships, and that has been working well for us, particularly in nursing, because we have nursing colleges nearby, and if they are not there, we encourage them to get one. In fact, I was watching in a seminar. Obama solved this problem beautifully in the US. Just 1 minute there and come back. They came up with this concept of magnet hospital. You are a hospital, you have a nursing and paramedic college there, you are a magnet for the local talent. In 4 years, they solved the problem. Coming back to us, in nursing, we are getting a handle around it. In paramedics, it's starting. Some of the trades are there, some are not there. That's the second one. Third is, encouraging hospitals to have their own colleges beyond the partnerships. And we have our own. We have one in Hyderabad, we have one in Srikakulam, we have one in Anantapur, which is in the hinterland. And as you mentioned, it really works, Srikakulam and Anantapur, to have your own stuff. So that's the other one. The fourth one is, now that we have a presence across many, many cities, which folks may not know, we are 20 plus places. And so we have a very active referral scheme, because the healthcare workforce has gone and worked at different places. They have come from the hinterland, they have come from small towns. And now we give them an opportunity to go back with a little bit of incentivizing where feasible. It's a trickle, but this has some good potential. So these are some of the things that we are doing.
Fantastic. I think hospitals are getting into reverse engineering. Hospitals need to also be careful that nursing colleges and medical colleges don't get into forward engineering. Nahitar fir sabka beda garg hai. Ranjan, I wanted to ask you this specific question. Now, today, I have kids, and they're difficult to deal with. They have limited attention span. They're always sunk in their mobile devices, which of course we only buy for them. And and we've also seen this with nurses, with young doctors, Gen Z professionals, millennials, whichever particular spectrum you talk about. How have you worked with attracting young professionals, Gen Z, millennials, to get into healthcare, to stay in healthcare? Because today with this whole startup zamana that's going on, people obviously, they're more attracted to faster money. So how have you worked towards attracting this talent into your institutions?
Thank you for inviting me for this session.
It's a pleasure.
So we are all aware that today's Gen Z are very different from the people with similar age group 10, 20 years back. They're very clear about their personal and professional goals. So which when we were of that age, we were not that clear. But these employees are very, very clear about what they want to do in life. Some of the methods that we engage are, creating a tech savvy environment. You want to look at their details, everything through the ESS, and we have provided them the best of employee self-service. Apart from that, we also ensure that the career growth path for them is transparent, and they're very, very demanding in terms of it's not particularly the nurses, all people who are in that age group, the front office, they are very, very demanding in terms of, sir, what will I become, what will I become after 5 years, 3 years, and all, because they also keep on seeing that people grow in organizations, and then they have understood that growth is a primary driver, and they also need to grow in the organization. Today's nurses are looking forward to career growth, and they are eyeing administrative roles as well. I'm sure most of you would have seen this, and not only any administrative roles, they are very, very clear that they also want to become the hospital head someday. So some of the organizations are driving towards that, and it will really be great to see a nursing head who is heading a hospital, or a nurse heading a hospital. In Fortis we are actually working very hard to ensure that this actually sees the light of the day. We have sponsored them for healthcare management programs. We've got structured training programs for them, so that's what others also see. And I'll specifically speak about Fortis. We have been running this program for last 3-4 years with a very reputed healthcare management institute, and once they come back, they undergo 2-3 years of structured program in the organization. After that, they get into a FD -1 or facility director -1 role. A facility director in our parlance is someone who heads the hospital, and then eventually they can grow in life. So mentorship and coaching is also very important for the high potential employees that we see. So all the high potential employees who are of this age group, we ensure that there's a mentor attached to them, and they're taken care of in the best possible manner. Some of the things that we also do is provide lifestyle support to them. Provisions for gyms. A good canteen is very, very desirable. Not just any canteen, but a good canteen is desirable, and we ensure that this is taken care of. Have structured recognition programs, so that they all look forward to actually becoming part of it and being recognized. We also have a formal mental well-being program, and these are some of the things that we do to ensure that this generation actually sticks with us.
I think that's a very well-rounded answer. Thank you so much, Ranjan. I'd like to preface my next question. My next question is to Durga. I'd like to preface my next question with a little bit of context. Now, see, on one hand, we've got the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which gives you 10,000 rupees for hysterectomy, all in, all out, with 4 days of medication, etc. We've got our colleagues, esteemed colleagues from insurance companies, who obviously want to improve their profitability. They have their own challenges in terms of what they can charge. They've got IRDA guidelines, etc. So there is this constant pressure on the bottom line, and I just wanted to understand, Durga, from you. You're a big institution. We've got, of course, despite Trump, despite President Trump, we've got people still wanting to go to the US. If I ever had a choice, this is the worst time you can probably go. But I just want to understand that with all these payer pressures that are there, with all these pressures of international markets that we have, growth opportunities are just abounding. Like today, for example, 50% of a batch might not want to do PG. They might want to just join IHMR, or they might want to join an MBA because it's just more lucrative. So how do you, Durga, retain your staff? And this is probably going to be one of the Brahmastra mantras, because everybody wants to know any particular clues on how to balance pay, growth opportunities, their well-being. We heard some things from Ranjan about mental well-being, etc. How do you do it, Durga? Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Parag, and a very good afternoon to all my esteemed colleagues. Thanks for having me on this show. I think, Dr. Parag, a very relevant question when the entire industry is grappling with challenges of attrition. I think it's very important for organizations to realize today what's your core strategic style. And since all of us work in the same space, I would say largely we rely on operational excellence and, of course, customer intimacy, which is patient intimacy. Those are two strong levers organizations need to work and realize too. And I think the other most important point is begin with the end in mind. So what essentially would work with an organization X will not work at Y, and vice versa. So I think these are two important realizations for the organization, but having fundamentally said so, I think they're strong anchors which really form the bedrock of a good retention model. And we talk of Asta, for example, today we see an intense competition around good talent, because this is a talent-intensive industry. Everybody, probably, as you rightly mentioned, is trying to scout around for the good, value talent in the organization. So today, I think important for organizations to realize that compensation cannot be the only lever to engage and retain talent. Both underpaying and overpaying has got its own ramifications and repercussions, both in the short and long term. So I think the entire framework of compensation, which is benchmarked against the market pace, and particularly identifying roles and skill sets, and where do you want to position it in terms of your pay percentile? Do you want to lead the market? Do you want to be market medians and things like that? Positioning of compensation today is very important. I'm sure all the organizations are doing it. Beyond that, I see a trend where leadership compensation is getting increasingly important and prominence today in the HR fraternity. So I think very important for organizations to get their leadership compensation right, where people are looking at generating value and wealth creation as an opportunity, especially the changing landscape of PE players coming. So good equity-linked incentive models today are going to define the future of the healthcare, and they're largely going to ring-fence your key and value talent. I think beyond that, it's very important that we see an increasing trend in Asta. We started defining short-term incentive models, especially roles and positions that have a strong the high performance elasticity. How do you leverage on their performance and output by designing some of those models? I think largely on the compensation front, those are the two changes we started seeing. Benefits, I think social security benefits on retirement, and a lot of organizations have started pivoting and extending deep pockets on the flexi benefit base in terms of encouraging people on wellness, professional development, skilling, a lot of car leasing policies. All those they play a very pivotal role in terms of how you engage and design bespoke retention drivers for specific cohorts. Probably all of us would agree that what would entice a clinician in terms of his engagement would be very, very different from what would entice a nurse to stay. So I think very important for organizations to realize what those tenets of retention are. And one size doesn't fit all. I think goes without saying. So aspiration of a paramedic is going to be very, very different from the aspiration of somebody who's working and aspiring to be leader in the organization. So apart from benefit and compensation, two other strong tenets we believe is development. We touched upon it. The previous leaders spoke about it. So today, attracting Gen Z, the millennials. So where do we start? How do I find a seat in the table? How do my voice amplify reach the top? I think the whole outlook of engagement and retention in the organization is largely changing. So as I said, anything you offer, I offer X, and probably my competitor is going to offer 1.2X or 1.5X. That's going to beat it. But what's not going to beat an organization is its purpose and culture. Culture, again, is that silent force or engine that drives and propels you forward. And I think every organization has got its own set of culture of doing things, what people do, what people deliver, what people display. I think that's one of the tenets. We've got our own unique culture of doing things, which defines not only what people do and exhibit, but that also defines our degree of tolerance on different aspects of human behavior. That I think is one of the strong levers. And I think the environment. I think today, environment plays a very, very key role in terms of your talent engagement, the employee experience we are talking about. How do people experience being at work? Some of the hybrid models. Are you flexible enough to give people a hybrid working model when the situation calls for? Are you also policies flexible enough? Do you give people a listening ear? And when I say listening, it's got to be deep listening and active listening. I mean, I take a pulse survey and act it after 3 months or 6 months doesn't entice or hook talent. Something that's real time. Are you continuously listening? And a lot of tools we leverage upon, mood meters, centimeters, pulse surveys, which gives you a constant feeder how your people are feeling. Real time. So I think, largely that's it. Benefits, compensation, development, environment, culture, and purpose are the two strong drivers that lead talent retention in Aster.
I think extremely, hit the nail on the head because, I think culture is something which is exceedingly important. And for those of you who have tuned into the CXO Roundtable, let me just inform you that culture is one of the 6 topics that we teach aggressively at the CEO Bootcamp, which is also held under the healthcare vertical of CAHO. We're planning to have one in October in Ahmedabad and one in December in Jaipur. So in case you're looking to have some excellent Gujarati food or buy some excellent Jaipuri stuff, please do join us, enroll yourself for the CEO Bootcamp to become the CXO that you're supposed to be. On a slightly different note, I have a son who's 25 years of age, and he's an engineer, and he keeps telling me that, Dad, you're a nut. You only use ChatGPT for very simple things. And for me, ChatGPT is no longer about mails and all of that. I use it to do multiple things. But one thing that I realized is that today's generation is totally gung-ho about AI. I think everybody, so my daughter, for example, uses it to de-plagiarize her answers in her university, whatever she submits to the university. All sorts of fundas are available. I think those of us who have even one white hair really cannot fathom the level of artificial intelligence that's here to stay. So my next question is actually going to be around digitization and artificial intelligence, and how does this link? And my question is to Neil. Neil, how do you use, or how do you believe we can use, this whole HR hiring technology thing, and integrate artificial intelligence as well as digital tools and platforms to be able to get people on board? Your views and the context you'd like to set, please.
And you ask this question to a man who's absolutely no hair on his head.
But a man who is not only an HR professional, but has also moved into administration and heads a cancer hospital. So it's a well-placed question, Neil. Go ahead.
Thank you. With your permission, can I add to something what
Of
my
course.
earlier esteemed panelists said?
Of course.
I'll not take much of the time. I think one was about, attracting talent. And I really like the fact that one of my panelists said that, coaching is not the best solution. So I'll tell you, I believe that one of the problems is most of the generation is also not aware of the careers that are there in healthcare. The careers that are there in nursing, the careers that are there in paramedics, most of them think that healthcare is, just being a doctor. So we were having this problem at one of the nursing colleges which I used to head, that we were not able to fill up the seats. So what we did is we went to, colleges in and around the city of Mumbai, not just outside the city of Mumbai, and we told people that these are the kind of career paths that you can have in healthcare, and we were able to fill up the seats. Secondly, when you talk about retaining people, I'm reminded of this beautiful theory by Frederick Herzberg, who talks about hygiene and motivation factors. While compensation is not the most important factor, but one has to realize that compensation is a hygiene factor. So if you don't pay people adequately, I'm saying that it's not necessary that you have to pay them the best, because there's always some person who comes and turns the apple cart totally topsy-turvy. It's very important that you pay them fair to the market. But what actually motivates, is the culture of the organization, is the environment of the organization which has been touched by this thing. And unfortunately, HR gets the blame for the culture of the organization. Well, the culture is actually decided by the departmental heads. Maybe we can talk about this when we have time. Now, coming to a question about technology. Before I begin my discussion on technology, my understanding of technology comes in a very simple statement that technology has to work for you and you do not have to work for technology. Now, whenever we go about searching for any HMIs, the typical way what people do is we call for product demos and we see what everything is there, and then we try to fit in our processes and systems according to technology. I think that before you actually adapt AI, I'll come to what AI and what tools are available. One has to first give a thought what we need to automate. Second, whether we are capable of automating it. And third, after that, it has to finally lead to a better experience. This could be whether we are selecting an HMIS or we are selecting a human resource information system. Because like somebody said, one size just does not fit anybody. So there are many such tools which are available. There is a tool called, HR1, which is an AI-based, HRMS. There's a very, very good tool called Vantage Fit. This is a tool specifically for people who want to have a wellness initiatives are a big thing in everything outside hospitals. If you talk about the TCSs and the Infosys of the world, the next initiatives they are all planning is having a more healthier staff. So wellness along with diversity. Then there's another software called ADP, which automates your time and attendance beautifully without punching in, without punching out everything. There are very good homegrown platforms like Kika HR. There is a Darwinbox. For specific, the new age HMI softwares have a lot of AI and a lot of HR things already built into that. I saw one by a platform by Karkinos. It's a very beautiful platform. Finally, what are we looking to do? Finally, we're actually looking at reducing the workload of the HR team by automatically probably sorting out CVs and giving you prompts, etc. And we are also reducing the chakkars that the nursing and the other people have to do regularly. And what are their queries? Their queries are how many leaves, what can I do? And so when you sit in an HR department and you see what people are coming for, the queries are absolutely simple. And because people are not able to answer those queries, the angst is all the more. So in addition to that, online requests, documentation, reporting, great insights in how your manpower trends are moving, rota updation, time attendance. These are all the things that you can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. I think it's important for us to understand that we need to get enabled using a quality sort of AI in our lives as well as at our place of work. I think if we keep, there's a lovely question that's come up, which I'm not going to ask now, but the question is, can AI replace HR? But let's not even get into that. I think AI can replace everything, but the question is, do we want it to, and how much do we want to? You can have. I, for example, would love to have a AI replace my spouse and just have somebody who does what I want to do. लेकिन ऐसा कभी जिंदगी में होता क्या? वो कहते हैं, what is that? यहाँ पे किसी को मुकम्मल जहाँ नहीं मिलता. So it's nice to hope and pray that everything is utopian, everything is perfect, but the fact remains that. By definition, healthcare is a very complex sort of industry. It is not possible to always, maintain the well-being of everyone. And I'm taking us to a slightly, and this question is triggered by Ranjan's. He said something about Fortis, or someone said something about this whole thing related to well-being. So now, when we talk about staff well-being, and COVID saw a lot of stress times. We do from time to time hear about medical staff committing suicide. Recently, there was something in Bombay where somebody drove up to a particular point on a bridge and then jumped off and sent a voice message. Now, these are while they sound very difficult to accept and to palate, one does understand that the workplace contribution to such stresses can be high. We are not saying it's because of the management. We're not saying it's because of the human resources or the boss. The very nature of healthcare contributes to a fair amount of stress getting generated by way of the multifarious activities that we have to do in a limited period of time. आजकल ये Google review का बड़ा चक्कर है. So everybody wants to ensure that the reviews are also great. We are not able to always afford the numbers required in terms of manpower and so on and so forth. So Ranjan, this question specifically to you, sir. What steps have you taken to support the mental health of your team, sir?
So, I think most of us in the organization personally feel that, mental well-being is directly proportional to the way you treat your employees, the way you interact with them. Nevertheless, while we all endeavor to do our best, but we do have a structured mental well-being program. So there is a set of 12 modules that all our employees are subjected to, and this is taken care of by the mental health department of Fortis. We have e-learning resources which are also available. All the training modules, apart from the training, they can also go into the e-learning platform, and then again repeat those modules. We have got a stress helpline for employees, which is 24/7 and is in 7 regional languages. And apart from that, we have a WhatsApp chat support for people who don't want to talk to the counselors, and also so they can send their queries on WhatsApp, and they will immediately get a reply. We have in-house counselors, just in case you want to face-to-face meeting. You can go and meet the counselors in any of our hospitals, and you'll be taken care of. And then there is, of course, no charge for that. Program for leaders on how to identify stress in employees, and this is something that we have started recently, and I think it is doing wonders. Most of us in HR very rarely get time to get into an ICU and observe the nurses and all, but whenever we do, then we actually get a very different picture from what we actually know. The picture inside is very different. There's a lot of stress. There is a lot of anxiety amongst the nurses, the other staff working inside, and I think they really need to be taken care of, and that is why we felt that all these programs will help. And the program for the leaders and supervisors are also very good, and it does help them in understanding whether the employee is going through stress or not. We are now in the process of developing an app which can take care of mental health. So this mental health app will I think get launched by the middle of August or end of August. So this is what we do for the mental health.
Fantastic. Now, the reason why we need to acknowledge this on the national platform today, and I mean, of course, we've heard the endorsements by celebrities like Deepika and a lot of this, but we must remember that essentially, being a very human, intense industry, the top line, bottom line, everything emanates from our human resources. So they're an integral part of ensuring that we continue to be in business. At the same time, one of the things that we started acknowledging, it was probably there before, one of the things that we started acknowledging a little during COVID and post-COVID was this entire concept of burnout, which is becoming more and more acknowledged, more and more common in healthcare. So, Neil, my question to you, you work in an oncology setup, it's a slightly different sort of patient mix. You have slightly higher mortalities, more morbidity as compared to, let's say, a routine multi-specialty tertiary care hospital. How do you help your staff to deal with the sort of burnout or the stresses that come with working in a hospital like that?
I think Dr. Parag, you put it absolutely right. I mean, the place where we self is very, very, very prone to stress and very prone to whether you call it negative emotions, etc. So what do we do? Ideally, you divide the work between value and non-value added work. That's the way I look at it. Whatever is non-value added, you should not allow your, the people. For example, let me give you an example in nursing. I think if there is some activity of a nurse which is not adding value, that should be handled by people down below and the paramedics below. The other things have been taken care by my other colleagues and my other panelists. that could include, individual coping mechanisms where you actually guide people on healthy living, exercises. You make them conscious that they should not be falling ill. Run a smart wellness program. You ensure that they seek help if they are needed. You have organization things, but the problem there is that we are constantly fighting with short staff. So it'll be, my answer will be too theoretical if I say that we have to optimize. It doesn't work because we are actually having short staff. But I realized one thing over a period of time, as when I was heading HR and today also, that the condition of the department is the barometer. The stress level and the burnout level of a department is also dependent upon the quality of the leader in that department. My question to all of us here is that, what do we do about, toxic leaders? What do we do about leaders who are not so sensitive? I think if we are able to counsel those and we are able to plug those kind of problems, the level of burnout and the level of stress in these various departments reduces. I mean, there are all other esteemed HR colleagues of mine. When we do an attrition analysis, you will see that even though the organization attrition at an average would come out to something, there is always some attrition high in some departments. And many a times, ironically, the toxic leader is also a performer. So one big thing to reduce stress and burnout is also to weed out toxicity from the organization. Thank you.
Excellent. Easier said than done, though, Neil. Especially if the toxic leader is a performer and is an acknowledged performer. Okay.
Yes.
One also, I should have added a subtext to this thing. How do administrators deal with stress? But then I'm not going to ask that, because the one thing that let's not go there, because when a staff nurse goes home, she goes home. But when an administrator goes home, I've had cases when I've actually taken my phone to the bathroom, because you never know who's going to call for a bed, and we used to have the chief minister calling and the OSD calling and all that. Anyway, let's not go there. I guess adequate compensation is considered fair enough to take on some additional stress. Thank you, Neil. Now, I have a beautiful question here. Somebody's actually asking, how do you navigate from the clinical field to the administrative field? There was a very famous song, Manu Tera Hua Ab Mera Kya Hoga, हमारे ज़माने का गाना था. Ashok Kumar or
there is another saying, the grass is green on the other side.
Chalti ka naam gaadi. So my first response to your question is, क्यों पंगे ले रहे हो यार? Let's move on and stay clinical, be happy. But nonetheless, we'll answer those questions a little bit later. It just triggered a little humorous kind of vein in my head. One of the things that we've seen evolve, and I probably joined in 2005 as a medical administrator, and I was one of the first medical administrators. Santosh Shetty, who's now at Kokilaben, was before me. We never had this concept of medical administrators. Matron used to be matron. There was no chief of nursing. We've evolved because the complexities have evolved. My question to Durga is that the role of HR leaders is essentially changing. And how do you think this change is actually happening? What are the traits that you see are today sort of what is happening to the healthcare leadership? Why is there so much of a sort of this bawal around, nahi, we want more administrators or healthcare leaders chahiye, nursing leadership chahiye? We, for example, at Wokhar Hospitals also run a nursing leadership program. We just completed our 13th batch. It was curated by Harvard. So, I want to understand how is the role of HR heads itself changing, and how are you able to drive growth within healthcare, specifically to HR heads? Durga, over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Parag. A very pertinent and a relevant question in current times. So, if we look back at the history of HR, since your question was largely pertinent to the HR leaders, so it all started with the evolution of the personnel management and then the HR officer, human resource manager. Then we started defining ourselves as HR VPs. Currently, in the last 5 to 10 years, it's been value enablers, and today expectation is to be a value creator from enabler. So that's how the role has pivoted. What's important for everybody to know is the essence of the delivery remains the same, right? The end objective remains the same. Only approaches have changed or ought to change with time to meet the expectations of the end stakeholders, expectations of patients, expectations of the end shareholders. It's from stakeholder capitalism, from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, if I have to use that word today. So all I'm trying to essentially say is how do you keep and meet the expectations of all the stakeholders in the times going? That's very, very important. I think HR today, if I have to sum it up in what is expected of HR in current times, I would all say HR needs to be a trusted advisor to business. That's why when I say HR, value creators from value enablers, that essentially sums up everything, Dr. Parag, whether it's induction or it's cultural assimilation or it's getting the best of talent, steady supply of talent to keep your ecosystem going, wellness, and all the the entire chain of the HR value system that adds value to all the stakeholders. So that's very, very important. I think I could possibly say HR today is not just a function; it's a force. So when it's a force, I think very important for HR leaders today to get people to work on a common theme or a common voice. That's the most important task today. How do I get people all thinking in same lines for same outcomes and delivery for the best interest of all stakeholders in the ecosystem? So I think the the role of HR today, I mean, is very, very important to turn some of this functional and departmental heads into people and business leaders. How do we generate value and deliver value? Because everything they do, and essentially, if you look at any functional manager, he's doing everything HR does. He doesn't have that tag of HR, but today you are still hiring people. You are doing an
True.
assessment. You are doing the induction. You take part in their growth. You elevate them. You define their career pathway. So I think the role of HR leader today is to get all those key, the elements of the organization, all the key tenets, going them and aligning them for the same team, same voice, and the same outcome. That's very, very important. And also in terms of the critical skill sets, I'm sure we could go and use about a lot of adjectives in terms of critical thinking, rapid decision making. But essentially, I think when it comes to a HR leader or any leader, three fundamentals I've always believed that works in terms of assessment, in terms of forward thinking is knowing, being, and doing. So knowing is all about assessment of competencies. You can do it, and doing is you could always evaluate the current achievements, the future potential, and things. But what is very, very important for every HR leader today is being. I mean, being is all about exploring other dimensions which knowing and doing do not probably throw enough life into. For example, self reflections, mindful awareness. How do I manage and navigate complexities? How do I manage teams dynamics? So I think these are some of the very, very important elements. And forward looking, yes, I see some interesting questions on the chat box in terms of HR, AI being replaceable. Is technology going to replace HR? I think very relevant. I think it's only thing I can say to such questions and current times is being human in the face of disruption is only thing sensible to do. Technology and HR will work hand in hand, of course, to supplement and amplify outcomes in the best interest of business. They cannot be seen, and of course, answering question: will technology replace HR? So I think yes. Technology will not replace HR, but HR people who do not use technology are likely to be replaced by those who use technology. I think that would essentially sum up what I want to essentially say, Dr. Parag.
Very well said. Very well said. My on a slightly personal note, my grandfather in the year 1960s, he used to be director on the board of Hindustan Unilever for personal relations and whatever laborers, whatever. So I'm sure he would be turning in his grave if he hadn't burnt him. But I'm sure that the HR managers of 50 years ago would definitely not recognize all of you gentlemen and what work you do today because the world has changed. It's a fact. I think we have time for one last question, and it's a very important question. Kaushik, this question is to you. In the coming years, what leadership skills do you think overall? This is not related only to HR leaders. What leadership skills do you think will be most important, specifically for healthcare? Let's restrict ourselves to healthcare. Kaushik, please.
Beautiful question, and thank you, Dr. Parag. And it reminds me 30 years back when I started my career, 27 years back, seminars used to be the changing role of HR. Even now we have the changing role of HR, the changing role of leadership and the changing role of leadership, but it acquires a different meaning over time and all. So few things, like you mentioned initially, keeping the brevity in mind. Number one, EQ, emotional quotient, Few people have the gift. If you have the gift, great, exploit it. And if you do not have the gift, build it. The good thing is it can be built. So, nature versus nurture. If you're naturally gifted with leadership, take it. But if you're not, EQ is something that has to be built. We have seen, like Neil was mentioning, some of the toxicity that comes, and if it comes from the top, lesser said, the better. So if the EQ is built and EQ is built early on, we can surmount a lot of problems. And if the EQ is good, it has a multiplier effect in the organization. The second one is actually the digital fluency, as we call it. What's there in digital fluency? Every doctor thinks that they can operate the latest tool and EMR and all, and every other professional also thinks so. But that's not the case. Let's take a example from another environment. My brother is a banker for the last 3 years. Such a wave of digital banking has come that the people who came from the world's best institutes, deep into banking derivatives and all, they have become redundant. Fortunately, in healthcare, and your question is to be limited to healthcare, which actually it should be, there's no redundancy and all. We are in a sweet spot where there's explosive growth. So now's the opportunity to not let this go by. EQ has to be built, digital fluency has to be built. There's a lot of responsibility on the organization, there's a lot of responsibility on the managers and individuals as well, and mostly on the individuals. Sometimes, I just see that phenomenal examples come from very unknown places. A person with no means, just with the internet and his or her own ingenuity, they come up with things. So digital fluency is the next one. And third and final is a combination of relationships and communications. It's a kind of paradoxical thing that the more we are going into an automated world and digital world and a connected world, the importance of communication and relationships is not going down, it's only going up. A person who will win in the digital world is the one who wins through the art of communication and through the art of relationships. Fortunately, all of these three can be built. If someone has it, great, exploit it, otherwise build it. So that's the response I have.
Brilliant. I think, we are imbibing a lot of these things on a day-to-day basis. We recently just got out of a meeting on learning and development, and that's one thing which I've not asked. But I'm not going to get into that now because, where hospitals can't fulfill the needs of the organization in terms of learning and development, you can always turn to CAHO. Don't forget that CAHO today runs 78 programs across the country, actually across Southeast Asia. Now we're getting into Dubai as well. Before I thank you, I think we've got a few questions which have come in from the audience. And I'm going to pick, I'm sorry, audience, for your information, ladies and panelists, we had a total of 170 people, 170 people who attended the training. I just want to quickly pick a few. We'll take maybe 3 or 4 questions. There's a very good question on what kind. Okay, let me just parse through the questions. Let me start from the bottom. Okay. Some of these questions Danya will answer offline. What are the barriers and facilitators in improving organizational culture? This question has come from our good friend Catherine Priyadarshini to everyone. Any one of you can take this question. What are the barriers and how do we facilitate improving organizational culture? Let's take a quick, crisp 2 minutes because I still need 1 minute at the end with all of you for a rapid fire question. Anybody?
So, Dr. Parag, I think I'll just tell it in the context of what's happening. It's open today. We are going through a big, corporate transaction. We're merging with one of the big healthcare giants. I think that's all in the public domain. Astev and QCI are merging to form potentially the, among the top 3 healthcare chains in the nation. So we're going a very structured approach on the cultural integration piece. Probably I'll just share real time what's happening. So today, I think as a first step of identifying as it is culture what it is, so we're doing a survey. We're talking to top people today, the organizations, the top management, the directors, the promoters, to identify the legacy of what kind of culture they've seen in the last 2 decades, 3 decades. So, and there is a very structured approach to a culture diagnostic survey that's currently happening with all elements of culture embedded into it. So I think as a first step, you identify as it is the culture, and then probably you reach out to all the key stakeholders, the top 20, 30, 50 people in the organization, the merged entity. What kind of a culture you wish to promote in the organization? So culture, as I just mentioned today, it's not just about how people behave, what people do, and how they do deliver and display things they actually do. Culture is that secret sauce, which really propels the organization, and that really fuels the silent engine we are talking of. So what could be the barriers of culture promotion? I think culture largely emanates from the top. It's mostly how leaders think,
Yeah,
behave, how what kind of promote what kind of behaviors and what kind of nuances we tolerate in the organization, right?
correct.
It's not about what you display and promote, but what you consistently tolerate. So I think what could promote? Yes, again, active behaviors from the top, the kind of benchmarks you want to say. Walk the talk and talk the walk is what we say. And what could really be a barrier is, again, no, if you don't display the kind of behaviors you would like to see in the organization. Dr. Neil was speaking about toxicity, and again, tolerating some of those behaviors which ideally you do not want to promote. We do not want the organization to talk about or accept. Those are real challenges, and many a times legacy practices, right? Who are the holy cows in the organization? What do they promote? And do you try and behave,
Correct.
emulate some of those behaviors? We look up to those people in the organization. I think these are some of the very very prominent barriers to promoting a good culture. But yes, progressively, yes, I think since we are undergoing a transition, we are trying to promote a go forward strategy with the right set of cultures that propels it. Rightly said. I think just one lakh quote Dr. Parag, culture with strategy over breakfast, but I think culture with strategy over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's all about.
Absolutely. Bingo. I couldn't agree with that statement more. I totally second that. There's one more question, and I'm going to add a little tadka to this question. How does HR handle grievances? And specifically, my tadka to this is, how does HR handle grievances when it's coming from somebody who has got a fair amount of invisible power attached to him, her, them? I'm just trying to be politically correct with the his, her, them. I know we don't have too much them yet. But nonetheless, how does HR handle grievances, specifically when it involves somebody powerful? Anybody?
I think it firstly involves active listening. I mean, whoever it is, firstly it involves active listening. Then it involves trying to sort the problem. By my experience, many of the people who come to you with a grievance know that there is no permanent solution, or there is no black and white solution for that particular grievance. What makes a grievance a real bad grievance is when there is no addressal of that grievance. I mean, we know that even in the case of patients, whether they're patient grievances or whether they're internal customer grievances. So I think it begins by actually spending time with the person who has got grievance and actively listening. Then is taking it up, answering your tadka part of the question, taking it up with the various stakeholders, and because these stakeholders could be powerful stakeholders in the organization, or you would want, you have added a political twist to it by saying that the person who's complaining has got good political weightage. You have to tread a little bit carefully, and you have to try to resolve the problem. All the time, every time the problem is not sorted out, but the fact that you tried, and if that makes a lot of impact on the person who has raised the grievance.
Perfect. I think we don't have time for any more questions, but one thing is sure. While one quick rapid fire round before I hand over to Dr. Bipin. A couple of points, 3 points, whatever you say. I'm sorry, but we don't have any more time. Quick rapid fire, 30 seconds each. Your priorities for the next 10 years. God bless you all for participating today. And I know you are going to continue as leaders in the positions that you are. Your points, 3 or 2 or whatever number of points you'd like in 30 seconds. How do you see, where do you see, what are your priorities over the next 10 years? In health,
I'll take it first, Doctor. So one is, seize the opportunity. I have seen this in some other industries. There's a once in a lifetime opportunity that we are seeing in healthcare. Seize the opportunity, partner the organization for the exclusive growth that's potentially there. While we do that, we actually exist for the patients. So make a lot of interventions not limited to training to elevate the experience of patients who come to the hospitals. And while we do this, the only way we can achieve this is to build our own leaders. So as we grow up, as the organizations grow up, take the people along. Let there be leaders, beyond the traditional hinterland, and let them be the role models for others to follow.
Fantastic. Ranjan, over to
So
you.
I think the priorities for tomorrow will be that you'll have to invest heavily into digitalization, and that is going to set the tone for tomorrow. Although we have digitalization in some form or the other, but I think this is going to become very, very strong. And from the human angle, I think you have to be near your people, try to understand them, be genuine to them, and I think that will really solve most of your problems. Thank you.
Durga?
So I think yes, future is going to change, and it's going to change rapidly with all these disruptions, technology interface we are talking about. But I think HR has two big roles, largely to craft out a very strong, compelling narrative about the impact the healthcare warriors can play, whether it's a clinician or it's aspiring leader or it's different cohorts of the healthcare ecosystem. And I think what's HR going to sell beyond compensation and all those tenets we were talking of is purpose. Okay, today the strong compelling narrative I could send to all key stakeholders is why are we here. So this is, as we say, a lifetime opportunity to create a big impact in the ecosystem. So the purpose I can make, and of course among all the disruptions, change, technology and transformation, HR has to have humans. So if I have to put it, AI plus HR is going to be ROI, and that's going to be the future of healthcare.
Super. Neil?
I believe that our middle management is our weakest link, whether it in most of the functions. And I think strengthening that middle management is the topmost priority while each of our sectors and hospitals, etc., are growing. And I see that if we don't do that, we are actually widening the chink in that particular armor. Second is going to be adaptation of technology, and of course, data protection. I think data protection is very, very important. That's an area. And third would be continuous learning for people all across the organization, from top to bottom.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your participation. On my side, I just want to know, I'll just like to say one thing. I got recruited in this organization twice by two different HR professionals. To date, these HR professionals remain some of my closest friends, not because they manage my salary and not because they think, but they are the people who I trust the most. They are the people whom I can confide in, and they are the people who give me solutions for problems which otherwise I would have gone mad. As the CEO of a company, I think it's very important your HR professional, your HR CHRO is your right hand man, is your best man. शादी में जैसे best man होता है ना, वैसे CHRO best man होता है. Best man, best woman. Let's just keep it gender agnostic for the moment. And I think that very grateful to Kaho for inviting all of us to this session. And I think more importantly, remember that Kaho trains tons of people, fulfills your roles in development. And we also look at the middle management development through the CEO bootcamp. So keep writing into us, keep following us. And I'd like to hand over to Dr. Bipin Chevle, CEO of Gleneagles Hospital at Mumbai, also the deputy head, second in command, I don't know, for the hospital division, Dr. Bipin, and of course a very close friend and neighbor because Parel and South Mumbai is not very far. Dr. Bipin, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Parag. I think we at this 30-second CXO roundtable had what we can say is, we witnessed one of the most star-studded CXO roundtable till date that I have attended, or maybe we've actually done. And what more can we ask for, where we have people or the doyens in their field, like Mr. Durga, Mr. Kaushik, Mr. Ranjan Pandey, and Dr. Neil. Of course, icing on the cake is Dr. Parag, moderating it. So thank you so much, everyone, for being, participating in it. I think 1 hour was not enough. We should have actually had a marathon session when it comes to HR challenges, and maybe short while from now, probably we'll have another part 2 to it, and maybe we can name it something else, but it will still remain as HR in healthcare. So few things that I mean, as take home points for all the participants, that I noted down personally were like, how do we take care of our organizational culture, mental health, well-being, toxicity in organization, EQ building, as well as middle management. I mean, that was very, very important for all of us to understand and take home. So thank you so much once again, all the panelists and Dr. Parag. And last but not the least, Dhanya for organizing the whole thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.